Hello family, welcome to chemistry class. I'm going to cover two separate topics today. One I was thinking about while I was doing my jotting and research and writing down, which is what I told you guys I would talk to you guys about today, which is the science behind 5G technology. And then because I'm such a nerd, I wanted to talk a little bit about COVID-19 since that's the world we live in today. So I wanted to cover that topic just a little bit. Chemistry class is not going to be long today. Not going to bore you guys with my nerdiness, but let's get into the science behind 5G technology. I have taken a picture of my whiteboard, so I will post it so you guys can see it just in case you can't see everything that's on the whiteboard right here. I will make sure that you guys have it. Hold on. I will make sure that you guys have it. So, the science behind 5G technology. Okay, what is 5G technology? What is it? What are we being exposed to? What's being emitted into the atmosphere? Well, radio frequency, which is radiation, different types of radiation. There are non-ionizing radiation, you see it up here. Then there's ionizing radiation, which is the most harmful. Non-ionizing radiation, modern science says that it's our microwaves, our Bluetooths, our cell phones, our cell phone towers, and Wi-Fi. And ionizing radiation comes from our X-rays, our CT scans. Those are the most harmful and even been said to be suspected of causing cancer, carcinogenic. And I believe that's by the Cancer Organization and other entities, but I can't recall right now specifically those ones. I'll have to update you guys on that, but I know for sure that they are suspected of causing cancer. So X-rays and CT scans. Why or what happens in the body? If you care to know, ionizing radiation can have an effect on the electrons in your body. And those electrons can cause a type of oxidative stress, and that's caused by free radicals, but we've already went over that before, so I'm not going to touch on that, but just know that what's being affected during emission or of ionizing radiation is going to be electrons. Put that here. Electrons. Let's get specific into SAR. The specific absorption rate, which is 1.6 watts per kilogram. That's the standard by the FCC. This is a measurement of radiation. So 1.6 watts per kilogram by the FCC. And if we're getting into specifics about cell phones, follow me down here. We have a Google Pixel 3 XL, iPhone 11, iPhone 7, and 8 have high SAR levels, which means that which iPhone 11 was directly at 1.6 watts per kilogram. So that's a lot of radiation. There's a lot of radiation that's being emitted to you through the use of these phones with electromagnetic waves. So Google Pixel 3 XL, iPhone 11, 7, 8. I could not find the specific absorption rate for the iPhone 12 because I did tell you guys last week that iPhone 12 is going to be being released very soon, if not already, by Apple, which is going to be on 5G technology. And then there's also T-Mobile that's already gone 5G, and I'm pretty sure there's more companies that's already gone 5G, but those two specifically that I know for sure. And when we say 5G, we're talking about the 5th generation, and we're also talking about the radiation that's coming from this type of technology that's being used. So let's go back up here. Cellular networks began 5G testing in 2018. And there was a pushback from major cities across the U.S. One example was Chicago. So much so that when they did the testing and the rollout of 5G, that they went to cities surrounding Chicago, but not even in Chicago, because Chicago had so much of a problem. They said, we want to know what type of adverse health effects are going to be caused, what's going to be implications of those and how they're going to affect humans. So Chicago was like, nah, bruh, we ain't having it. So I'm pretty sure that Chicago will get 5G. I just don't know when. But they was like, no haps. So when we talk about 5G, we have to talk about the history of it a little bit and go backwards, because before 5G there was one, there was two, there was three, there was four. So 5G technology, or the cellular phone technology, has evolved from 1G, which was the old dinosaur phone. You know, I don't even know if you had call waiting or nothing on that joint. You didn't have caller ID or none of that good stuff. Then we went to 2G. Then we went to 3G, to 4G. And at these 3G, 4G frequency levels were below 6 gigahertz. Now we've moved on and we've evolved to 5G revolution, and their frequencies are at 30 to 300 gigahertz. At these frequencies, they may exceed the FCC frequency standard. Well, what's the FCC frequency standard? At 4G technology, the FCC frequency standard was 100 kilohertz to 100 gigahertz. Since 4G, the FCC doesn't think that the increase of radiation from 4G to 5G deserves any type of research to know if there's going to be any type of adverse health effects to the humans being exposed to this radiation. So they said, well, we'll just use the same current FCC frequency standards for 4G to 5G. So there's been no research, or research lacking in between, to let the consumer know whether or not we're going to have any implications or adverse health effects when we're using this technology. There's information out there to suggest, and even conspiracy theories. I hate really using that word because people just question what's put out there in mainstream, but suggesting whether or not 5G technology has an effect on people, and their correlation between 5G and COVID-19. I'm not going to say no, because I don't think there's enough evidence to reject or disprove that theory. And a good scientist would love to know facts before even disproving any type of theory or any type of hypothesis. So I'm not against that there could be a correlation. I am not able to prove that to you right now. Possibly, maybe so if I could, or I can in the future, I will. So getting back to a little bit of 5G and COVID, to see a little bit of correlation. So 5G technology is going to increase or have more towers and transformers. They're going to be closer to, and this is in proximity as well. They're going to be closer. They're going to be closer to homes, parks, and schools. I have these two words circled, parks and schools, because these are one of the two things very much affected when the public health pandemic happened for COVID-19 is still ongoing. As you can see, children, for the most part, are not back in school across the U.S. Some are in schools. For the most part, they are going to school virtually. And in the parks, you couldn't go to the park for a while. Parks were closed down. Even I remember I wanted to go play basketball. I couldn't go play basketball because the park was closed down, even if I just wanted to go play with myself. So those are two things that kind of jump out to me when we talk about 5G technology. So if there's a lot more radiation in these spaces or places, as far as neighborhoods, parks, and schools, they have a closer proximity to towers and transformers that are going to be emitting these radio frequencies or radiation. I think that's very problematic. And that will be all I have for you guys on 5G technology. I'm so obsessed with doing this. Whatever that is, I don't know what that is. So 5G technology in a blurb is radiation. Radiation is emitting from your cell phone towers, and this 5G technology has an increase or a more of abundance of radiation in contrast to 4G technology. So be mindful, very mindful of the phone selection you pick. If you want to know the SAR, the specific absorption rate of your phone, that is information that is available to the consumer by FCC. All you need is the FCC identification number for your phone if it does not come with your phone when you purchase it. And you can get that information from FCC just by using the FCC identification number, and you can get the specific absorption rate. If you want to know how much radiation you're being emitted to, or the SAR for your phone. So that ends the portion of 5G. But I want to go over here to where my mind went and give you guys a 2-for-1 special. Okay? So, in COVID-19 correlations, this jumped out at me when I was thinking about this. So, okay, we're talking about COVID-19, which is the disease caused by the virus, which is SARS-CoV-2, SARS-CoV-2. So, if that kind of confuses you, think of it in the terms of HIV to AIDS. Modern science tells us that HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, causes AIDS, which is a disease. So think of it like that. You have the initial, and then you have what kind of transpires too. So you have the virus, and then you have the outcome, the disease. HIV, AIDS. Stick with me. So those symptoms are difficulty breathing, coughing or excessive coughing, shortness of breath. These are also symptoms of asthma or bronchitis, not respectively. We have fever, nausea, and vomiting. So fever, I have a squiggly arrow over here because radiation frequency can induce the elevation of body temperature. Just to make a note of that. And the asthma and bronchitis are pre-existing conditions. So during the public health pandemic, you would hear people say, well, you know, my kid or someone I know has asthma or bronchitis, so they're more susceptible to getting COVID-19. Well, basically, it's very difficult to tell between the symptoms of asthma or bronchitis as a pre-existing condition because they're the same symptoms, for the most part, COVID-19. So then, moving on, you had, like I said, you had nausea and vomiting. And these symptoms affect the respiratory system for the most part. We talk about breathing, inhalation, exhalation, and specifically the lungs. Now, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to me as a scientist? Well, I, for one, told people that people getting COVID-19, I'm like, it's pneumonia. It's really pneumonia. Like, I don't know what COVID-19 is, but I know that those symptoms are of pneumonia. So let's look at the symptoms of pneumonia. What is pneumonia going to affect? It's going to affect the lungs. It's going to affect the respiratory system. The exact same symptoms. Inflammation of the lungs, basically. Nausea, vomiting, difficulty breathing, shortness of breath. So is there a possible misdiagnosis, or is it purposefully misdiagnosing people with COVID-19 when they really could be suffering from pneumonia? Which is why people could be dying or have died from alleged COVID-19, or could it be from untreated pneumonia? Well, when I was doing my reading and doing some research, I came across something called COVID-19 pneumonia. Who would have known? Something called COVID-19 pneumonia. So how do you differ from standard pneumonia to COVID-19 pneumonia? They have the same exact symptoms. So how does one know that you don't have COVID-19, but you really probably got pneumonia? And now your pneumonia has gone untreated. And might I add that there was a letter that went across to all physicians across the U.S. from the CDC stating that if someone came into the office or hospital experiencing or informing you that they have these specific symptoms, to diagnose them with COVID-19. Without a COVID-19 without a COVID-19 test, that they are supposed to be diagnosed COVID-19. And people are wondering, well, how do we have greater cases or increases in cases. What we call in health promotion is incidence, which means increasing cases. Well, if the numbers are spiking because the physicians are said to, if you come in here with this shortness of breath, well, you got COVID-19. You come in here, you're vomiting, you have a fever, well, that's COVID-19. Regardless of any other illness or chronic illness that could possibly be the reason for their symptoms, you automatically have COVID-19. So if you're wondering why you're seeing a spike in cases, could it be a misdiagnosis or could it be a purposeful misdiagnosis? And if people are dying, or you know someone who has died, could it have possibly been from pneumonia? So that's just where my mind went today. Oh, let me cover one more little fun fact. So COVID-19 pneumonia. December 31st of 2019 in Wuhan, China, you had citizens being treated for pneumonia who visited the animal market. So this could have been prior to there being a COVID-19 public health pandemic as far as defining it as COVID-19 as a disease, but they were being treated for pneumonia, which I want to look further into this and I want to look into statistics of the people who entered this animal market, were treated for pneumonia. How did they respond? What was their health outcome? So, in conclusion, chemistry class today was a little schizophrenic. It was a little all over the place, but that's where my mind was at lately. So we covered the science behind 5G, and then we also covered some possible COVID-19 correlations. We're talking about the symptoms, and I'm talking about COVID-19 correlation to pneumonia. If ever you disagree with my scientific deduction or my scientific opinion, then I beg of you to challenge the science and disprove or reject any of the deduction or evidence that I've put here today. So all of these are facts, but I have my own deduction to them. So if you have a different one, different than mine, please stand on it and bring it to the platform. I would love to hear from you. Please do share, subscribe, let everyone know about the good, juicy information that we talk about here, and I'll see you back next week. I don't know what topic I'm going to talk about next week. Please feel free to drop some suggestions in my DM, my inbox, or right below here on YouTube. Please do make sure that you're sharing the channel Health Neurotics on YouTube to your friends and family. Your enemies can get some knowledge too. Peace out and see you next week.